Approximately 666,000 frontline workers are eligible to receive this check, and it will determine who receives the bonus payments. If all eligible workers apply, then each will receive approximately $750. If fewer workers apply, then the pot will be split among those applicants. The Minnesota Senate recently passed the Comprehensive Health and Human Services Reform Bill to address the state's long-term care and workforce issues. So folks, will President Biden do something for this? Folks, we have a ton of news about the Ford stimulus checks, Social Security benefits, SSI and SSDI. There's a huge deadline for millions of Americans, and officials have confirmed they need to take action to claim a one-time relief check. In roughly 2 months, the governor of Connecticut will send out nearly $170 million in tax rebates and other payments to low and middle-income families, with children and to Connecticut's working poor. While it's part of one of the largest tax cuts in state history, it also marks the largest election year outpouring of one-time relief, since the governor sent $115 million in tax rebates to Connecticut households as he sought re-election in 1998. The state's administration hopes to send out at least 300,000 child tax credit rebates this year to single parents earn less than $100,000 in 2021, and the two-parent families that earn less than $200,000. Families must file with the State Department of Revenue Services before June 1st and July 31st to receive a credit. The administration said it expects to issue the relief in August. Around the same time, it also expects to distribute $40 million to $45 million among roughly 180,000 working poor households who claim the state's earned income tax credit on the 2021 state tax returns. The state earned income tax credit currently is worth 30% of the federal credit and provides recipients an average benefit of $700. The one-time $300 bump, Lamont and other Democrat-controlled legislature approved for earned income tax credit recipients, effectively raised the state credit temporarily to 42% of the tax benefit. But tax reform advocates have been pushing for years to make permanent a child tax credit and enhance earned income tax credit program. The governor of the city wants to reassess the state's fiscal health after much of the $3 billion in federal crisis relief Connecticut received last year has been exhausted. Over the weekend, buyers paid a $5 a gallon, or roughly $100 to fill the tank, and gas prices have doubled since Biden took office. JP Morgan analysts predict $6 a gallon by August, and experts warn this crisis will continue even after Biden's term ends because he's dismantling fossil fuel production. There are now 20 states plus Washington, D.C. with averages of $5 or above. The highest price states remain California with a state average of $6.42 a gallon. 31% of the nation's 130,000 gas stations were already selling gas for more than $5 a gallon. There are stations and states where gas is cheaper. About 15% of stations nationwide still are selling gas for less than $4.50 a gallon. But even in May, states where gas is cheaper, such as Mississippi, lower average income can mean drivers have to work longer to fill up their tanks. Biden has fighting. New data has been released, and it's by the federal government. Nancy Pelosi has made an announcement on inflation. Millions of low-income households can expect to receive inflation relief checks very soon, and these payments will be automatically sent out for some, while others may have to take action to receive this assistance. And not only that, you guys want to be sure to continue to watch this video because it gets much more interesting. Now, as Republicans regain momentum on concerns about the economy, the only thing that Democrats seem to agree on about their issue is that inflation and high gas prices is the problem. Now, Representative Ro Khanna has told NBC News that, "What is our message about why inflation is going to be worse if Republicans win? I don't think our economic message has been loud or sharp enough." And when asked about inflation this week, Nancy Pelosi said, "We'll have to message it better in the next 3 weeks ahead." With gas prices up again and a potential recession looming, voters are once again telling pollsters that inflation is the most important issue facing the country, reversing the boost that Democrats enjoyed over the summer when the public was more concerned with other issues. Democratic pollsters and strategists are sounding the alarm. Even as President Biden and some candidates sharpened their focus on inflation, Democrats are worried it may be too late. When inflation first started creeping up in 2021, Democrats tried to downplay the issue, arguing it was only temporary. Now, it's been a year over inflation, and according to credit card companies and banks, U.S. consumers have demonstrated willingness to continue to pay higher prices in the face of a sluggish economy that could be tipped into. Now, the demand for travel is particularly resilient as Americans make up for postponed trips due to the crisis. Consumers are also splurging on food and entertainment after the crisis has eased. Now, Bank of America is not experiencing any slower growth in spending either, despite inflation having reached historic highs. The recent data economic have showed that signs of stagnation in consumer spending and retail and food services sales were little changed for September after rising in August. So millions of people are still eligible to receive a crisis relief payment, with some households in a store for a possible massive payment. The IRS has announced. California Governor Gavin Newsom has confirmed that the state is actually going to be sending it out $9.5 billion to tax refunds to Californians all across the state. These checks are called the middle class tax refund checks, so if you're in the middle class or even the lower middle class, you'll be getting stimulus payments in the state. The release of the programs to get the money back into the people. It's an extension of the Golden State stimulus, which distributed $9 billion to families, in fact, and the billions of dollars more in crisis relief funds that were sent to residents to help pay for rent, cover overdue utility bills, in addition to supporting small businesses. The governor said, "We know it's expensive right now, and California is putting money back into your pockets to help out. We're sending out refunds worth over $1,000 to help families pay for everything from gas to groceries." The governor's office has said that payments range from $400 to $10,000, $1,000 for people without taxes, and $200 to $700 for individuals, depending on their income and whether they claim dependent. A total of 18 million payments will be distributed all in all, with an estimated 8 million direct deposits set to start arriving in bank accounts between the end of this month and the middle of next month. The state controller said the inflated costs for everyday necessities have forced many to cut corners or make impossible choices, so people can be getting stimulus checks and should expect to receive it. And not only that, but in Maine, you have until the end of the month to claim a $850 stimulus check thanks to the state budget surplus.
Community partnerships, donations, and gifts, and education projects. The Fish and Wildlife Services currently utilize volunteers for tours, restoring habitat, plant and animal survival, staffing refuge stores and visitor centers, and all other activities. Well, I believe more work needs to be done to improve our overall management of our national wildlife refuges. The volunteer activity that this bill will reauthorize are an effective tool in performing needed work without increasing costs to taxpayers. Solutions such as this legislation are especially welcome during the times like these when our national debt continues to balloon and inflation comes to soaring because of reckless spending pushed forwards by the majority.
President Biden has made a very big announcement on his Build Back Better Act. Lawmakers are pushing for a new deadline to approve the massive spending bill. A fourth round of stimulus checks may begin being sent out this month, everybody, so stay tuned. According to Business Insider, Joe Biden reportedly told Democratic donors at 2 California fundraisers that he needed some legislative firepower to help him get his priorities passed on Capitol Hill. This is a nod to the thin margins Democrats hold in Congress. At the second fundraiser in Los Angeles, Biden remarked on the evenly divided Senate, where he has to rely on Kamala Harris and her tie-breaking vote and the unanimous Democratic unity to get his biggest priorities over the finish line. According to sources familiar with the matter, Biden said, "We need 2 more senators."